My name is Harold Berberian, kids. All right. Oh, first thing, everybody, come up and fill up the other bits. All right. Let's get in a little tight. If I can't sleep, nobody sleeps. Get in, kids. The Teachers Association are goofed up in a bit. They wanted someone to come in on the Teachers Awareness Day and talk to the kids. Well, they usually get big wheels. You know, they get politicians, people from the school committee and things like that. Well, they goofed because I'm just an old nothing. So we'll see how I make out for you. Now, what you've got on your desk are sheets of paper. While we're talking and we talk, I want you to put your names down. And this is the deal on it. You kids have got nothing to sweat. You all get A's this year. We're going to do something that's never been done before. You kids are going to grade me. All right? I want you to evaluate me when we go through. I'm not a politician. I'm not an educator or anything. But what I've got to say, I hope is interesting and that you kids will like it. And I can tell you this: it'll be the first time that you kids have got it. And I just hope that it's interesting enough for you to keep it going. All right. You're probably looking at me and saying, what do we got in common with this old guy out here? And please, you don't look too smart or whatever. And I'm looking out at you kids and I'm saying, gee, I don't know about them. Some of them are smarter than they look. All right, and you kids are probably saying the same thing about me. So here's what we get in common. I'm an Attleboro High School boy, graduating from class of 33. I'm 74 years old today. All right, this is the way they used to do it in the old days. They, like the Londons, got this out, and this was in the newspaper. All the kids that are in it. At that time, that class, where I think was 159, it was the largest class of all the classes of high school that started. First graduating class was in 1869. All right? I was the youngest kid in the class, so 17 years old, 57 years ago. And I looked out at County Street out through the window, and we were poor. Nobody had anything. I went through 12 years of school. I didn't have a nickel. A lot of kids the same way in the old days. And I looked out and I remember this is a true story. Excuse me. I wonder what I want to be when I grow old. And here I am old, and I still don't know, kids. All right, like this. But I wanted you to know some things. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you a little bit of the history of Attleboro. A little bit of the history of the school. I'm going to talk about some sports, and I'm going to throw some stuff out at you, all right? And then the last 10 minutes of class, I'm going to ask you kids, you have anything on your mind? Ask me questions on anything that you want. So we're going to start out now with a little bit of stuff. In 1643. And hundreds of years before that, this here was all virgin territory, kids. Forests. When I was a kid, I used to come out here, pick blueberries right where we are. It was all low land, everything else. But in the old days, there was nothing but woods and everything else, and thousands of Indians. So in 1643, a group of people from Boston, who were led by a minister named Newman, he got a bunch, and they came out. And they went over towards Cumberland, is where they settled, all right? And then few years later, they got some action, and they bought land from the Indians. They probably stiffed them. There were politicians in those days too, you know. And they got the land, they call it the Rehoboth Purchase. And at one time, the capital of Massachusetts was considered to be over here in Rehoboth. So but then, you know, then it worked out and it went up to Boston. So then they had the Rehoboth Purchase, and they settled down over here and kept going. And then in 1661, a man, Captain Willett, who was big wheel up in Boston, he came down and they purchased the land that's around over here, the North Purchase, which is now part of Attleboro, North Attleboro. So this is the way that it went. They had a man named Blackstone who was a hard nose. He hated the Indians and they hated him. And they had a war. They got a hold of this guy's kid and cut his head off and they stuck it up on a pole so that he could look at it all the time. So after the Indians were beat up, he went out and they buried all his family that was killed and everything, and that's way up in North Attleboro, up the north end. So then we kept going like this. This is part of the history of the town. In 1694, they became a town, all right? So now 1994, kids, be 300 years, right, that we've been a town and we've been a city. From 1914, we've been a city. So we're hoping to have a celebration, but I don't know whether they're going to do that or not in that way. So this is the part of the history that went on there. We had we had superintendents, we had schools. Attleboro and North Attleboro was broken up in 1887. 1887 they became a part of their own, and we had high schools that they call East and North. Now the first school that they had in Attleboro was over on South Main Street, next to the Attleboro Sun. There's a building up there. They only had one room. Then it went across the street, next to the fire station, and they had where Briggs Hotel. They had it up on the second floor. Then it went from there over to Sanford Street School, Sanford Street lot, and then it went from there to Bank Street where the League of Women's Voters are. And then they had a big fight in the city, in the town, because they wanted to have a high school for this part of the town, and they also wanted to have a high school on the other part of the town, which was going to be across from the Common, where the gasoline station is, and just before you hit the bridge. So the people that from this from this side of the city won that. So we've been going like this for time now. For sports, it started out in 1897. A teacher decided to get the team here, and I just lost his name in my head. But teachers could play some sports, so he got the first football team put together. And I scrounged around and I found these pictures and I had them made up. Now these are all collector's items. There's a team there. This is a team of a YMCA, but most of the kids are Attleboro High School kids. Over here I have a picture of the town and the territory here. That was in 1899. This is the deed, the first deed of the school system here, where a guy named Capers sold it for $300 to the city, to the town, and it was only supposed to be for education. Now the one building that's left is what we call the superintendent's building. It's up there in the Sanford Street lot. You kids know where that is, the one building that's up there, but it's not used for education anymore, all right? But that's the way that the deed was. It was always supposed to have been made that way. You kids have the yearbook that's coming out. Anyone know when the first yearbook came? I'll throw it at 1925 was the first year that we had yearbooks. Now I have collected all the yearbooks from 1925 up to the present time, and I got a full set up there in the what I call the Attleboro School Archives room, which is the little smarts room up there, and this is the logo that I had here. As long as memories live on, the past is never never dead and gone. Now this is why I wanted to talk to seniors to start off with, because you kids, when you get out of here, you are the cornerstone of the school. All right. People think the kids they're all you kids. Most of the kids are jerky kids away. I don't believe in that. I think you're all adults. All right. And you're coming up. You're gonna go out. You're gonna go out in the world, and it's a hard, cruel world. 10, 15 years from now, kids that are here that will probably be scientists and some of you will be numb and dumb like me after all these years. Nothing's going to change because I represent all the C students that ever came out of the school system. All right, so I got a lot of company, I think, but this is the way that it goes. I have here the way that they used to play football in the old days. They've had it that football started with Rutgers and Princeton and kept on, but the origin of football goes way back to ancient times when armies used to fight one another, and then whichever army won, they cut the king's head off and they kick it around. That's how football started. All right. If they could have bounced it, there'd probably been basketball, only even a broken dribble going on at the time. So these are things that have been going on. Now we have sports. We've had. I wanted to tell you about the school seal. You kids have seen it, you know, on papers. It's down there in the front lobby. It shows a lion rearing up on its hind legs. But you kids know that the lion hasn't got a tongue in it. This is on the coat of arms from a knight of the King Arthur's court from way back in England, who went over to France, and he went into the French king's court and gave the eye to a princess over there. So in those days, to gain the prince's hand or whatever, you had to have feats of valor. So she took her white glove off and threw it into the pit where the lions were. And this guy was dumb enough, he jumped in, he fought the lion hand to hand, killed it, tore the tongue out, and came up and put it in the glove and presented it to the Queen of England, Queen of France, kissed her hand, and they bailed out. Well, I don't know what would have happened in this day if anybody be jumping into a pit for a lion. But then he went back to England, and that was the coat of arms that he had for his family. And that's how part of his family, members of his family, came over here to Attleboro, and that's what we've used. All right? Now, we have, in 1931, they had a contest to find a seal for the city. And a businessman named George Nerney won it. And what they have on the seal is the lion, without the tongue, and then a bunch of little rings around it, and that represents business they have. Now I think that the school seal has 17, and I think that the city seal has one less than that. But an interesting thing on that is, a few years ago, the Daughters of the American Revolution had a great big flag made that cost them $700, and whoever did it left the tongue in the lion. Now they can't show it around because they do that when they don't know how to take it out of the out of the big flag. I have in here, you kids go down to the front lobby, you'll see this plaque that's there of our first student, teacher, principal, and superintendent, Joseph A. Tiffany. It's up on the wall. I scrounged around and found it in an old toilet in the old high school. Got it cleaned up, and it's up there on the wall. All right. This is part of the things that the kids in the senior class sprung and had money, and they got things like this to put it up. Now you kids are all seniors, am I right? Got the deal on this? All right. Let me project something to you. You're gonna, when you get out of here, you're gonna have class reunions. Any memorabilia, any things that you had. Say, a lot of kids will throw stuff away, but this is what's happening. Kids from classes way back. I'll give you a good example. Last night about 9:30, I got a call from a woman from the class of 1926. Her name is Laura Povey, Povey. all right? And she asked if I would be interested in having old blue owls. That's what a literary magazine used to be in the old days. There's no such thing as a blue owl, but that started in 1908 by a kid named McDonald here. And I said, sure, everything, because most families throw things away, you know, when they go. But she wanted to have this one essay. So I've got her coming up here at 10 o'clock this morning, and I've got to set up that she don't even have to get out of the car, that someone will go out and pick all these things out. So we're talking to the seniors, and I've already talked to the president of your class, that someday you've got some money together, and you get a showcase like the showcases I've got down there for the classes 24, 5, 6, and 9, like I say, and you can put things in for memorabilia, because later on in life, you'll find out that, gee, reunions, we only knew a place that we could have some things like this. You know, they're just a projection to you. Over here, the book that's standing up is the names of the kids in one district way back in 1846 to 1850. They had 20 districts, school districts, and they'd have a teacher. One guy stay in one place for 6 months, live in somebody's house, and he'd go around 20 months, long time, right, kids? By the time you come back again, people would be old like that. But these are things that are collector's items. The other pictures that I've got there are things from the class 1919, the graduates, because now you get the yearbook, you have your pictures. But this is the way that it went out there. You ordered so many, and the girls would all dress up in their lace dresses and things. They're beautiful, all right? And the guys all had suits on, vests, and chains across, like that. So I've got a lot of these things that I've been saving. Let me see what else I had over here. All right, that's on that part. All right. Anyone got any questions you'd like to ask me about anything? You hit me when you first came in. Go. You don't know nothing now, huh? About anything in the school system or anything at all? You're all speechless? You? Nothing at all? All right. So, what I have here, I don't think I mentioned at the time also. Oh, I got one in here. Why I wanted you to put your names down, everything else, so that at the end of class, a few minutes ago, I'm going to pass them back to the teacher, and she's going to draw out one of your names. And this is a history, Daggett's condensed history of Attleboro in here. These are collector's items. All right, they're worth a lot of money now. They're going to be worth the money a lot of time. But what you know about your hometown in the area here, there'll be something good. So whoever gets it will be from me, so you can have it. Now, how much time have we got?
15 minutes.
15 minutes?
At 9:30.
9:30. All right, so that'll be on that part there. Here, again, I got a scrapbook from a girl from the class of 1931. She had everything down for the 4 years that she was in school. I got scrapbooks from different people, athletic scrapbooks. Any football players in this room from last year? None? Any cheerleaders? Nothing? All right, I'm just wondering, because we could have used some of that armor that we had for the Knights to stop North Attleboro from pouring through us a few times. Thanksgiving if we had it. I have here another scrapbook that the kid had for his sports, all through the years that he was in. I have here the oldest piece of wood, kids, in regards to that came out of the school system. This was for the high school debating class of 1899, and it came out of the first, made out of wood out of the building that first had for water. to make water here, but this is the oldest thing that we've got in relationship to schools. I have diplomas from kids that graduated from 1892 and even earlier. I've got pictures of school buildings and all kinds of books and things that belong to the system. Now, I don't know what's going to happen after I'm gone. I'm hoping that by talking to kids like you here now, that somebody will take an interest someday and come back and carry this on, because right up to now, people really don't care about the history of the school and everything else. But the things that I've picked up, if it disappears, that's the end of the party for everything. And I feel that is an important part of whatever we are going through. I asked this before, is this the way that the classes are? Two kids to a table? Is this the way that it goes? Do you do this on tests too? You do? Say that again?
Sometimes we put one person to a table.
But I was wondering about that. I said, what a nice country, right? You got two kids on a table. You take a test. One guy's smart, the other kid's dumb. Beautiful, like that. Except if you get two dumbbells like me sitting on the table, and we all come up with C's and D's, right? I always thought it was, you had individual tables like that. I've got so many things in my head that I wanted to bring out, and I got myself very
Mr.
down.
Berberian, I think one of the things the first period class really liked was when you talked about Babe Ruth playing baseball and said.
Oh, on the sports? Well, I'm sports oriented. All right, kids. So that I'm in on from way back. Everything in the high school sports, and I'm always fighting for it. I go before the school committees because I always feel that the clubs that the kids are in, the sports are in, are an integral part of your education. And then kids were talking about different. Say I made connections with a couple of kids. I tell them where the first baseball field, Brady Field, was, and the kid is sitting down there, and he lives on the corner of it. And he wanted to know about Babe Ruth. Well, I was only a little jerky kid at the time, but I never saw him play or anything else, but I know the whole history of it all and what happened when they were down here in the Little World Series. Plus, a guy that was a hero to me all my life was Jim Thorpe, the Indian, and I've always wanted to be as good as he, and I never was, never will be. And he came down here in Attleboro, and all the kids ran up to him because they expected to see a guy with an Indian headdress and everything else, right? There's a guy dressed up in a sharp suit with a red tie, and I'm like, that's Jim Thorpe. They couldn't believe it because he was just a regular American boy, So these are the things that are going on, and a couple of the other kids talking, we found out that his grandfather was in my class, so that was impressive. Then another one that teachers were just talking about a kid up here whose name was Billy Armel, about his parents and everything else. How many kids in this class that had fathers and mothers that came out of Attleboro High School? Anybody? What's your name?
Cindy Daniel.
Daniels? All right, what year did they graduate?
My father graduated a long time. He's been in this area all his life, but I'm not sure when he graduated.
But you don't know what year he graduated. Like that. But see, I got the yearbook for that. Like that. This is what I'm saying. So sometime, who else had a father or mother? What's your name, Brett?
Scott Heath.
Heath?
Yeah.
What's your father's name?
Russell.
I know him. I know your grandfather too. All right, see, when I'm telling you these things, the yearbooks, someday when you kids are grandfathers or grandmothers, and you haven't got a yearbook, or you're wondering, you'll know that you come up here to school, you can go up that room, whoever will be in charge, and you can get these things. I had a complete setup to the library, but for all through the years, and they're under lock and key, kids. but people going up stealing the yearbooks, then other people going up there and they cut their picture out. Well, you know they're wiping it out when they cut their own picture out, right? But at least we got one complete setup here. So someday, like I say, when your grandfathers and grandmothers and people don't know what you've done, or you want to learn something about from when you're in school, that you know that these things are up in the up in what I call the out of school archives room. That I was hoping that someone would hit me with something that they had on their mind on the school. So
Do you still collect? Or did you stop?
I've taken everything, kid, and I don't want anyone to throw anything away. I've been in distress at home for 10 years because all these things that were coming in, I had them in my garage, in my cellar, in my home. My wife's got a nice clean home, and I'm messing it all up, you know, with all these different things. And even now, if you kids walk down the third floor, way down here, you'll see outside this room that I've got 2 or 3 or 4 tons of papers and things that I've made copies of the thousands of hours that I've spent here in the school system, but I haven't had a chance to collate them together, and I haven't got a place to put them. And I got about 3 or 4 tons outside, and all of it is on the history of our school, even the things that are happening now. All right. Every year, for about 7 years now, I have held a ceremony to honor the valedictorian and salutatorian of the senior class. I've done this so that the families can have a part of the action, in addition to whatever you have out there on graduation. All right, so it's going to be when I hold it again. I've got a valedictorian salutatorian board that the kids, I couldn't get it from the school committee the old days. I couldn't get it from anybody to spring for it. So I went to the class of '84, and they sprung for $525 for it. And then I researched all the way back to 1869, which was the first year of graduation, and got all the top scholars out there. Now, the old days, they didn't have valedictorian to salutatorian. They had class assayers. They'd have 3 or 4. So I couldn't pick one out, you know? But I've got it all down like that. So what we have in the ceremony, they come in, and I get a screwdriver and the plaque, have it engraved, and the kids put it up there. Now I've got 2 boards up there for the years 2108. Now as seniors, I'd like to have, when they have this thing come out of the principal's office to all you kids, that we'll have a representation from the senior class that come up to see the top 2 kids in your own class. I'd appreciate having some of you there. In fact, I appreciate having teachers there, which is another thing that hasn't happened by too many of them showing up, because that's the ultimate of education, right? For the kids to see who's the top scholar in your class. I'll give it a John. We all know that we're in Bristol County. Anyone here know our county seat? Where? What we at? Fall River, right? All right. You kids know how many? You kids know how many counties we got here in Massachusetts? We got 12. All right. I don't know them either, so I'm not being smart. I just know that that's the amount. But these are things that happen. If we went out 40 miles from here and just got dumped out, we'd have a hard time bumming our way back home because we don't even know what's around here. Am I right on that? Just got out of a car 40 miles away and said, hey, you'd head for a super highway and hope that it came down, it was 95 coming down through.
Mr. Berberian, you have about 5 minutes if you wanted to have the kids write.
Oh, all right. Here's what I want. You're going to grade me. All right. A to E. You think I was a stiff? Put it down. All right. Get these things down quick so you can give it to the teacher so she can draw out for draw up for your book. Put any comments that you've got down. And what I'd like to